The Wellness Show, episode 166. Welcome to The Wellness Show, a podcast on health and wealth. I'm your host, Tyhson Banighen, the founder of the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy. Join me as we get the latest insight, tips, and strategies from wellness providers, coaches, and successful, heart-centered entrepreneurs, and much, much more. Welcome to the Wellness Show, and today we're interviewing Bill Henrich, who's returning for the second in the series with regard to finding your divine gifts. So I'm very excited about the series. It's helping people understand what it means to show up, be authentic, find out what their divine gifts are so they can deliver their passion to the world. So welcome back to the show, Bill. It's great to have you here.
Thanks, Tyson. How are you?
I am fine.
Just want to make sure. I'm sorry, I've got to wear my Mickey Mouse ears. I was just on a trip and I can't find my ear pod, so I've got to have this big headset on. But anyway, I'm glad to be here, talk about the divine gifts. You know, before we talk about the divine gifts, though, I want to talk about stress. What really stress is like. Okay. I've done a survey on stress, and it's amazing. It isn't amazing, but it is amazing that people are under so much stress. And it comes from all different places. It comes from, obviously, the political situation. You've got North Korea. You've got all these different things going on. And then on top of that, we have all this white noise, and there's just so much information flying around now. So when I did the survey, you know, it was like people were talking about, they felt like they didn't have any choices, like they were just stuck living with the pressure of day-to-day life, that the workload may be out of control, or that their lives were being controlled by somebody else giving them work to do in a corporate situation, kind of keeping them at the breaking point all the time of just being overloaded with work, being afraid they won't do it right. I mean, I probably got 300 different responses from people in this survey I did. It was pretty astounding. And the biggest reason for stress is because people don't understand themselves and they don't understand how the universe works. Would you agree with that, Tyson?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the greatest release is to know who you are and why you're here and how to get out of your own way so you can show up. And that really does help lower the stress.
And that's what I do, is by showing people, and we'll talk about the divine gifts, but when you learn your divine gifts, you really learn on the inside. Inside you, you can feel it, who you really are. It changes your life immediately. And when you understand how the universe works, now you have the rules of the game, you know who you are, and we even take it a step further. We give you your specific life lessons so that you understand what obstacles you're going to continually encounter in your life. So you have a clear roadmap, because life is about learning. Life is about challenges. In fact, not only is life about challenges, I had this long conversation with a brilliant psychologist who was speaking at an event I was at. And what he was talking about was good mental health, and the fact that good mental health is our ability to get past a challenge and get ready for the next one that's coming, because there's another one right behind it. That's what life is. Because the universe is a vibration. It's always in motion. So if you're not in motion with it, then you're resistant to it. Think about that. Without any conscious decision on your part, you're in resistance to the flow of the universe. That's what causes stress. That's what causes problems in your life. So when you understand who you are, it makes a huge difference. So Tyson, I want to ask you a question, because you and I have known each other now for, gosh, I don't know, what, 4 years, 3 years, 4 years. And I knew you before you went through the True Life Purpose Now program. Actually, you went through the coaching certification program. And I know that after you went through it, there was still some resistance that you weren't seeing that was still blocking you from this divine energy that I promise I'm going to talk about in a moment. But then all of a sudden it clicked, right? Can you talk about that just a little bit and what the difference is in the absence of bewilderment or stress or not really understanding what's going on in life to thoroughly what's going on in life, in your life now?
Yeah, I think that fundamentally the problem with stress is, and what was going on for me is we have stories in our head. These stories come from our family origin. They could come from our past incarnation. We don't have to go an incarnation, but I still feel there's bleed through from there. We have these stories about how we were raised, our society, our religion, our beliefs, our culture, blah, blah, blah. And the stress of trying to fit in and be well-behaved or well-mannered or loved or whatever becomes this incredible tension of living the world outside of ourselves. And then when we don't feel secure, then we make up these stories about why I feel the way that I do. Well, my daddy did this to him, or mommy didn't love me, or whatever the story is. And then we embellish these stories as a rationalization of why we are the way that we are to justify the pain that we're in, which creates more stress. And whatever happened in the middle of the training program is somebody else was in the middle of their story, and I just realized it was BS. And I realized my story was BS too. And I said, I swore, I think, and I said, that's just a lot of hooey. I didn't use those words, but, and I realized I was talking about myself. So I had to drop my story. The story was no longer valid. And that was my aha moment. That was my breakthrough. That I've been living a lie.
And Tyson, I remember that. I remember when that happened, right? Because it was just like a spark of lightning or something hit you. But that's what we do, is we live in these stories that have been created out of a need for survival. And the stories typically are generated from someone else and given to us, or come as a result of beliefs that have been given to us by somebody else. And we make our way through life protecting those stories, right? So
yes,
since
we love
that's
stories.
happened, and I'll tell you how you can tell if you're in story in a little bit. But since that's happened and it clicked, what's the difference now, Tyson?
Well, I love the title of your book, which is Clarity Has No Story. So when you're clear, there's no need for a story. There's just you showing up with radical self-love, being authentically yourself, knowing what your divinity is, your divine gifts, and just knowing that is who you are. And then there's no question, there's no doubt, there's no shame, there's no guilt, there's no trying to fit in. And in fact, we're not here to fit in. We're here to change the world, to make it a better place. So the name of the game, the ultimate game, is you're not here to fit in. You're here to be yourself, that your unique gifts that you're going to learn by discovering your divine gifts. They're unique vibration. You have a unique gift to deliver to the world. Each one of us does, like pieces to a huge puzzle. And when we get this puzzle put together, because we're all living our divine gifts, we're going to live in the most miraculous world you could ever believe. That's my belief system. That's what gets me up in the morning. That's what gets me excited.
And so, but let me ask you one more question. It's like I'm interviewing you. This is funny. What's the experience living that way? How does that feel? In very simple terms, how does it feel?
It feels on a good day effortless. It feels like being in the divine flow. It feels like being in the zone. It's like Michael Jordan sailing through the air to dunk that ball. He doesn't have to worry about it. He doesn't have to think about it. He just knows how to do it. It's in his muscle memory. He's just sailing through the air. He is to humanity when it comes to basketball, and he just dunks that ball. And there's this great sense of satisfaction because he's in the zone. He's doing what he's here to do.
Mm-hmm.
He's delivering. He's done all of
That's
this
it.
training. He's nothing more to figure out, nothing more to do, nothing more to become. Just be Michael Jordan. And in our own lives,
Mm-hmm.
we're being asked to be our own Michael Jordan. We're being asked to be in our own flow. And when we're not, what we've learned in this program is how to get back into the flow, because we're human. We're going to lose it every once in a while. There's no doubt about it. But if you know your way back.
What a lot of people do, what a lot of people do though, Tyson, to get back into the flow is, and I'm not by any stretch of the imagination am I trying to make a derogatory comment here, but they do other things and other practices that allow them to connect more with themselves, with their heart, with a higher level of consciousness. And that may be yoga, meditation, and maybe many, many other things. People go to healers. There's all sorts of amazing, amazing modalities out there. But when you don't know who you are and what your divine gifts are, you're living life with a blindfold on. And I guarantee it. Not only do I guarantee it, anybody that comes to my program, my guarantee is very simple. I'll blow your mind or you can have your money back. That's how powerful the work with the divine gifts is. That's how powerful this information is when you find out who you are. Because we've each come to Earth with 7 divine gifts. Now, I want to say, I have been doing this for 5 years. We have worked with hundreds of people, and everyone goes through an instant transformation. Literally, I tell people I can change their life in 60 minutes, and it's true. After that, you need to learn how to integrate yourself into the way you are accustomed to living in survival. And so there's some things that we can accelerate the process for you with, going through that process of integration. But the things that we see happen with people is amazing. I mean, their life just changes instantly. And so the 7 divine gifts that we all come to Earth with, every human being has these divine gifts. And these gifts are energy. Okay, this is energy flowing to us. I'm sure everyone's familiar with the chakras or the vortexes, energy vortexes. We have 7 of them, starting with the crown chakra, going down to the root chakra. This energy flows through, and as we're living our life purpose, Tyson was referring to being in the zone. And what it really is, it is being in the zone. It is having your mojo working, whatever. It's effortless, it's timeless, it's ageless. It's just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Like right now, I'm just letting the energy flow. Whatever's coming out is coming out, because this is my authentic self-expression. This is me. This is Bill Henrich in physical form. This is my soul speaking, not my head. I'm not using rationalizations, justifications. I'm not trying to use my instincts and make things work and explain things. I'm just telling you what it is. So there's 7 divine gifts, and they are divine compassion, divine creation, divine order, divine healing, authentic self-expression, divine truth, and divine power. Those are the 7 gifts. We have all 7, but we have them in different proportions. So there are literally billions and billions and billions of different combinations. Now, I have found a way through a meditation to crack the DNA code of these gifts. And again, we've done hundreds of them. And I give a money back guarantee, and we've never given anyone their money back. The energy that we connect you to, there's different amounts of it. And once you get connected to it, once you understand this, inside, in your heart, and the link that goes to your soul, to all that you are, that's all energy. Once those are connected, you look at life differently, 100% differently, and it happens instantly, because you can feel that it's you, And what you're doing is getting introduced to this energy that you've always been familiar with, but you didn't know what it was. In fact, you probably didn't even recognize it because it was part of the overall internal system of who you are emotionally, physically, and such. It changes instantly your life. As this energy flows and comes to us, because we're not aware of it, we block it. And when we block it, what happens is it will show up in the physical in what we call dysfunctional divine energy. And there's different behaviors that go with the different gifts. So when we go through an empowerment consultation with people, it's what is called sharing the divine gifts, we do the dysfunctions first, because these are behaviors that you would be familiar with. And prior to even doing and going through the divine gifts, the first thing we do is a life purpose assessment where we find out what's really going on in your life. So we already have that information of who you are in that moment, kind of like a personal financial statement, but it's more emotional, dealing with the things you've been struggling with. Then we do the empowerment consultation, and then we get to see the dysfunctions. And we talk about them. And if it's you think it's you, great. If you don't think it's you, it's great. It really doesn't matter. What matters is that you have more information and more awareness from which to live your life. Because this, everybody is living on this stage where we're wanting to be seen a certain way. And the way that a majority of us want to be seen is one that would be from a point of acceptance from people around us. And many of us get our love that way. It's outside of us. That's how we get our love. It's by other people accepting us. On the contrary, there's people who are angry but what happens, you get your aggression. Like, you know what to say, you know who you are, you know what energy you're putting into the world, and you're able to speak it and say it in a very simple way, because as you do it, you know that you're giving, being of service, and come of. And the combination of those things makes life a great place to be. That and understanding that we are in the physical, we are on Earth, we are part of the universe. We aren't just here on Earth. We're part of it is, and how that works. And you're able to use your divine gifts to fuel energy to any situation. And let me give you an example. I just got back from Orlando. I was down there this weekend actually coaching one of my clients with his clients, and they had 3 days of this seminar. And one of the things that was strange, that it was actually Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And so I went down, did what I did, having been to seminars before. Most of them end on Saturday or Sunday. And yesterday I worked, I got on a flight, came back last night, but I missed an appointment yesterday with one of my clients. And I felt bad about it, and I'm judging myself about it. And this client is very professional, and it's like, what are they going to think? And all these things going through my head, right? That's the way we live in survival. I don't want a client, they pay me for coaching, and I'm very punctual on time, and I'm very proud of the work that I get accomplished. And when something like this happens, I have a tendency, I'm going to immediately be tough on myself. But now that I did it, and the way I found out is they actually texted me and said, hey, and I was like, oh my gosh. I said, gee, I'm in Orlando. I've made a mistake. I'll be home late tonight. Contact you first thing in the morning. I apologize for my error. That's it. So what's interesting about it is going on, because I had low self-esteem as a child, didn't feel good enough, wanted people to like me. Inside, I still feel that. But in my heart, I have stepped up. I have owned that I've made an error. And I have no problem discussing it with him on the phone and apologizing again in a sincere manner, because regardless of how they receive it, it doesn't matter to me how they receive it. That's their experience, and that'll be part of our coaching call when we speak this week on the phone now. So that's the way we live in survival. And when you learn about your divine gifts and start flowing them, you can go through any difficult situation. It'll amaze you at what can happen when it's energy, because the universe can always find a better answer than we can ever make up. So do you have any other questions, Tyson? That was I just kind of got going on that one.
No, that was good. Working with a client this morning, we were using the heart math monitor to help understand what it is to get out of your head and get in your heart, so that you can feel your way about what it is to be in the zone. Yeah. It's not something you can think your way into. And just trying to figure things out is an addiction.
I was going to say, let me launch on something else now that you've said that, okay? That
go for it.
Is the single biggest challenge we have is the head versus the heart. The head is only for us to use here in the physical. Think of your head like, if you're sitting watching this right now, you're probably not driving your car. Your car's of no use to you right now. When you want to go to the store, you're going to go someplace, you get in your car and use it. And what happens to us is we become servants. We completely lose the greatest gift that we have, and the greatest gift and the divine supreme, the best of anyone on earth that we have is free will and choice. We're the only ones that have it. But when you're not aware and you're in your head, you're actually being controlled by old beliefs. When you're in your heart. So, sorry, Tyson, go ahead. When you said that, it's such a important piece.
Yeah, you can keep on going with that. I mean, the key to all this is that the stories we have in our head come from the fact that we're trying to fit in. And so we have these stories, and they're all rational beliefs that we've picked up from our parents or from society or from our culture or religion. And so to be in our heart sometimes is a bit scary because it's quiet. There's no story to tell. And in that solitude, a lot of people feel uncomfortable, but it's in that silence, it's in that, that inner peace that the next rational step is presented for you to take. And as Bill said, if you take that, make that choice and make that step, and if you don't like it, guess what? You can choose something differently. But that's the way to know that you're going to step into the flow, is first of all, get out of your head, get into your heart, get into your feelings, and then allow that feeling to guide you to the next step.
So let me speak a little bit about how to get out of your head and into your heart. The easiest way to do it, when you have to, I used to have to make decisions. I don't make any decisions anymore. It's wonderful. It's freedom. I had to am I going to do this? Am I going to do that? Should I buy this? Is this the best at? And just all the thought and everything that went through it, where now I can just stand and put my hands on my heart and ask my heart if it's something I should choose in a decision. And you will always get the right answer. You'll always get the right answer. Now your head may come back in and say, oh, you didn't have your hands in the right place, or you did it incorrectly, or just all this crazy stuff that our head says to us, right? Because the head and the ego work hand in hand. But there's no satisfaction, there's no peacefulness, There's there's nothing but garbage when you're in your head, right? Because the other thing, Tyson, you had said that people are trying to fit in, when they're using their head. But the truth of the matter is, people do want to fit in, but the truth using their head. What they're really doing is protecting their stories. There's a story beneath what they're saying, and there's nothing worse than getting caught in the right or wrong place. What you're saying to me about this is true, then what I believe is wrong. And you need, that's a difficult spot to be. And let me tell you what I found out. I never learned anything in my past growing up that serves me today for who I truly am, my authentic self. In fact, I learned the opposite of it, which is why I had such a miserable life. I survived. I figured out how to survive the misery because I didn't fit in, because I have higher wisdom. And I was in more of a fundamentalist home with religion, and I was being taught all that so I could choose to step out of it, is why I was there. I see that now. But at the time, it was not fun. So nothing serves me now for who I am. What serves me now for who I am is the present moment. It's my heart, it's how I feel, and it's being completely responsible for any choice that I make. Because if I'm really focused and understand my divine energy, I'm being my authentic self. You can't be any better than that. It doesn't feel any better than that. It doesn't get any better than having true authentic self-expression where you're completely detached, you're engaged in, you're sharing your heart, you're staying present, and you're serving at the highest level that you possibly can for the good of all. When you're doing that, you have no problems. And when problems show up and you address them in that way, your life changes in an instant. You find yourself doing things that you would have never imagined before that you would do, but you just do them with such ease and grace and joy and peace that you just do them. And everything's here. You don't have to worry about anything because you're in service and you're coming from a place of love and you're giving. Has that been your experience, Tyson?
Yeah, my experience is there's life before in my story of trying to fit in and trying to feel comfortable. And like you, I never was meant to fit in. I came from a family that didn't understand what an empath was. So fitting in really wasn't comfortable. So there's all these stories about why I didn't fit in or how I was different, whatever. So to let go of all that and be comfortable with just being my sovereign self, of just showing up and being authentic in the moment and allowing myself to be in the right place at the right time with no struggle is such a relief. It's such an easier way to show up in the world. And the gifts that one receives, like unlimited abundance, being loved and appreciated, being understood and recognized for who you are, all begins and ends with showing up and being radically present with self-love and being authentic unto yourself. And what could be better than that? I can't think of anything that could be better than that. Why not have a life of ease and grace? And if you get confused, you find your way home. You can find your way back to center quite quickly.
Oh, yes. It's very easy to get back there. And, this is on the shadow of a doubt, the changes in people. And it's interesting how as people get their gifts, I mean, their life changes instantly. But then you can resistance come in because the ego doesn't like the back room and sleep. The ego is going to kick out and say, no, 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 no. There's not a new sheriff in town. I'm still running this town. But as you learn to love your shortcomings and love your ego, not run from it, don't fight it, love it. The more you love it, the smaller it gets. And we have egos. It's part of the physical. We make mistakes. We're here to learn lessons. These are all part of the physical experience and will continue to be until the day you die. It's all about learning, or it's about limitation. It's about survival. It's about what's on TV tonight. It's about what's going on in politics. It's about all these things around us and outside that we use to distract ourselves so we can avoid the magnificent beings that we really are, because we are powerful beyond belief. And again, time and time again, and I see people go through this, and we see changes in people's lives that are just astronomical. What are some of the other changes that you've experienced, Tyhson?
I think one of the most difficult concepts to understand when you know your divine gifts and how to get out of your way is that there's a direct correlation between being in your divinity or your true nature and prosperity. That prosperity and abundance is not what we think it is. It's not the coinage of the land. Right. It's not the trade that one has to undertake. It's not that, program that we have to learn how to run to get more clients or to do this or to do that or whatever, bright, shiny objects. It has to do that when you're in your authentic self, your self-worth reflects the divinity of who you are, to attract the clients who want to work with you and phone you up and say, I want to work with you. There's no marketing. There's no struggle. There's just you being you. And that brings you to abundance in a new way.
I just been working with a marketing person, and they were saying, so where do all your clients come from now? And I say, they just show up. And they're like, what do you mean? It's like, well, I don't do any advertising or any energetic. It's all about who I am and the attraction rather than the promotion. It's so attractive, so attractive. In fact, this coaching thing I did this weekend, I've been in a big mastermind, and that's where I met him, real high-end mastermind that I was in. And he was having trouble at his seminars, so they would come him, which I agreed to, and I went. And he looked at me. It started on Saturday. I guess it was Sunday afternoon. We were sitting at the end in the office area, and he just looked at me and he said, "You have no idea how happy I can't express." And that was not as much about the results that I got for him. The results were great. They were perfect, because I did them with my divine gifts. I did them out of service, and I did it to help people. But really, really happy about Tyhson was he felt safe. He didn't have problems and chaos. There was peacefulness. There was connection. Everything got done. I just bring this huge, I don't know what to call it, energy of calmness. And he was thrilled. And that's what happens. And that's what you're speaking about when you talk abundance. I have one of the greatest pieces of abundance that you can have. And let me tell you what it is. It's time abundance. I have time abundance. I have just all the, think about that, because all the stuff outside of us can be replaced. We can get more money, we can get more cars, we can get this, we can get that, but you cannot get any more time. The moment we just have, time moves on, we are moving towards the end of our lives when we will transition out of here back into energetic form. And when you have time abundance, you have what I believe to be one of the greatest gifts in the world. Have you been experiencing that, Tyson?
I would say that that's still the biggest addiction that I'm working on, is the story that is so ingrained in this society, is that you have to work hard in order to succeed. And the truth of the fact, it is truly an one of the strongest addictions that I'm having to deal with is to understand the true purpose of letting go on every level, which is where my abundance and true wealth is. So I'm a work in progress in that area, but the zeros are increasing in my bank account.
Mm-hmm. But let me speak to that. What you were just talking about in letting go. Okay, you're being too hard on yourself, because we're in physical form with limitation. We aren't going to do it perfectly. So there's your get out of jail card that you can use anytime you want. You're not going to do it perfectly. Enjoy it when you're doing it. And also enjoy it when you're not doing it. Enjoy it when you're being dysfunctional, maybe when you're worried about time, maybe when you're concerned about something or something's going through your head. Because what that does, a sense of enjoyment for the times that are peaceful and clear. It's just part of the human experience. What do you think about that?
I agree with you that there's this ebb and flow, and that it's neither the yin or the yang, that it's always going to be a flow, and that the more we become what we might call neutral, but I mean neutral in a passionate way, not a neutral in a detached way, the more that wave that carries us, like we can almost surf that wave rather than being pulled over to the yin or the yang, or getting into judgment about ourselves, or why can't we do it better, or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that a radical responsibility of being able to sort of surf that wave and feel okay, like you said, wherever you are, whether there's chatter in your brain or whether you're peace in your soul and in your heart, it's all right. It's just, like you say, part of the human experience. And letting ourselves off the hook, so to speak, allows us to reclaim our divinity in that moment, because we're out of our judgment. And we're not trying to be other than
the way you reclaim your divinity is by connecting with the universe, by allowing this energy to flow through you and be connected with all that is, to allow the universe to take the energy that you have put into the universe, the space that you're in, and let it build and do whatever it will with that energy. Because there's so many things going on. There's so many things going on. We have life lessons to learn. Everyone around us has life lessons to learn, and then, as you know, I was, have now the astrologer, and I've had some great conversations with him. But when you look at the planets, we're born under a certain planet. In my case was Scorpio. And at the time, the other planets were, while these are all moving, which they don't take as long to go around their axis to come around all the way around. I think the furthest one out takes 540 years to go around. We are always in a constant state of change, with all of these energies moving around. If you don't know your divine gifts, if you don't understand how to achieve, then you are going to be in conflict with the universe, guaranteed. It has to be, because this is the pathway in there. And what's great about this is this isn't like some system that I developed previously in another life, if you believe that, that I just knew all about when I saw it the first time. When you're in that flow, then everything changes and you just allow the universe to build everything out. But with all the different things with the planets and disruptions, but you don't have to really be concerned about them when you have your divine gifts. You just let them happen. You don't have to participate. Have you found that to be the same, Tyson?
Absolutely. And I was wondering at this part, in the conversation, because we're in the second of the 4-part series, if you could just tie this back into the need for a good, clear foundation and bring it into this aspect of knowing your divine gifts, so the two are linked together. I think that would be a really important thing to do.
Point. It's like with this, one thing leads to another, leads to another. But the fact of the matter is, everything begins by having a good foundation. You have to have most people in retirement, it's like everybody's focused on getting to death safely, right? And because that's why 90 whatever percent of people that win the lottery go bankrupt. They are not capable of handling the responsibility of having that much wealth. Here it is, spending billions of dollars buying these tickets to win the lottery because and 90-something% of them go bankrupt. I mean, it's like amazing when you think about it. People working with the law of attraction, same thing. Really, in my world, the law of attraction doesn't exist. And the reason it doesn't is when you understand you need everything in the 7 universal laws to be the ingredients all together, and you need a foundation that has enough room and can support your intention. People are like, oh, I want this and I want anything that comes too fast won't last. It's the same thing. You need a foundation for whatever it is that you want to do in your life to support it. Okay? And that this weekend for this client down in Orlando, okay, was a big responsibility. It was a very big responsibility. And what's interesting about it is the responsibility wasn't the coaching of the people in absence of any chaos in the team in the seminar. That's what's a big deal. To be able to go in and handle it, no ego, just go help the people out, be of service to everybody. What? So wonderful. I'm just being peaceful and calm. I'm not doing anything, but I am moving this energy. So things like that can land on my foundation because I've got the responsibility and I've got the space on my foundation to doing it. I'm not doing it like, oh, I got paid this much. I got paid very well. But that's just like, it's like a sweetener to the deal. The rant sat there and looked at me and he just said, I just can't even put in words how thankful I am. Only had to do with the energy that I brought to it. That's all it had to do with. They don't understand it in the same way, but they do experience of it. And the experience of it is one that's very attractive because people like to be in this peaceful energy. It's an energy that communicates directly with their soul. It's not energy of speaking. It's not yak, 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 yak. It's the energy that I do things with. That's your life purpose. Your life purpose isn't what you do, it's doing it with. End up like just in this place that's, I don't know, magical, I guess is the word that I would use, Tyson. And it's fun because it's always changing, you know. So I've on my I've just started the mystery school, and I have a course called True Life Purpose Now. Not sure when I'm launching the next one, but total life changes. And then you go out and learn how to live with it, and then you go through the cycle of creation where you come back around and it's like, whoa, things are different, but you're really just starting over again. You're just starting over. Because as you make choices that are around you and your life changes, and the more it changes, the more you feed this energy to it, and it's just a perpetual process because like love, race, there's an infinite supply. But it has to come from a foundation. And with the divine gifts on your foundation, you don't really care what else is there. It doesn't really matter because there's only one way that you can use it in the manner that the Creator intended, and that's by being of service and flowing the energy. Everything else just fills in around it, right, Tyson?
Yes, indeed. So I'm going to bring this interview to a conclusion at this point. The last part is getting a bit bumpy because the bandwidth is slowing down, and you've got some really wonderful things to communicate, and I don't want them to get lost in the inability for people to hear. So I think that was wonderful. The connection between the foundation, the divine gifts, what it is and why it is worth your while to get hold of Bill and discover what your divine gifts are is a really important step to make your life have more ease, calm, tranquility, to learn how to be in the right place at the right time. And so, Bill, what's up next? What's the next one going to be about?
And I want to interject something, okay? And this is the way authentic self-expression works. It would be wonderful if somebody got in touch with me, but I also want to point out that Tyson is one of my certified coaches. And you can go to Tyson and find out, okay? So whatever works for you. We just want you to have and live in your divine gifts. What's next? We're going to talk about life lessons and how they block our development. With the divine gifts, reading instructions, you'll know what they are immediately, and it just changes your life. So it's more about the interruptions that come in and disturb us on a day-to-day basis, the interruptions that come in and block us from we're doing something and then we get a phone call and this happened to so-and-so and that's going on over there and North Korea is happening and that's happening and the other things are happening. All these interruptions are coming in. So we're going to talk about how to handle those that cause stress. Again, it's Bill Heinrich. My website is truelifepurposenow.com.
All right, Bill, it was a great pleasure to have you on the show, and we look forward to the next one. So bye for now.
All right. Thanks, Tyson. Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody.
For quality online wellness products, courses, and services, visit our sponsors, thewellnessstore.ca and the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy located at thewellnessacademy.ca. To stay in touch, visit us at thewellnessshow.ca. And until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.